The emergency signal came through at the worst possible time. In the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, representatives from 40 different worlds sat in their special seats. Each seat was designed for their specific body type. Some floated in water tanks, others breathed different gases, but all of them heard the same terrifying message. This is Azure 7 colony. We are under attack. The Krell fleet has surrounded our planet. Please, anyone who can hear this, we need help. They will destroy us in 3 days. Our weapons cannot hurt their ships. Our shields are too weak. Please help us. We have children here. We have families, please. The voice belonged to a Valerian named Threen. Her species looked like tall, thin beings with blue skin and large eyes. They were peaceful people. They had never hurt anyone. Their colony on Azure 7 was just farmers and artists, teachers and scientists. They had no military. They had no way to fight. Council leader Morthax raised his hand for silence. He was old even for his long-lived species. His face showed deep worry. How long until our peacekeeping forces can reach Azure 7? He asked. A military officer checked his data screen. His face turned dark. 17 days, Council leader. The Azure 7 colony is on the far edge of our space. Our fastest ships need more than 2 weeks to get there. 17 days. Threen's voice came through again, breaking with fear. We have 3 days. Maybe 4 if we are lucky. The Krell commander has told us to surrender or die, but we know what surrender means to the Krell. They will take our children as slaves. They will take our world. Death might be kinder. The council chamber filled with noise. Everyone talked at once. Some suggested negotiation with the Krell. Others wanted to send a message of strong words, but everyone knew the truth. Words would not stop the Krell. They were conquerors. They took what they wanted. They had destroyed 6 colonies in the past year. The Galactic Council had done nothing but watch and complain. Ambassador Varric stood up. He was thin and weak like most council members. His bones would break easily. His skin could not handle much sun. He came from a gentle world with soft gravity and perfect weather. We must do something, he said. We cannot let another colony die. What can we do? Another member shouted. The Krell have 80 warships around that planet. Our peacekeeping forces have 20 ships and they are not built for war. We are civilized people. We do not build weapons of destruction. We talk, we trade, we make agreements. Then we will all die, said a voice from the back. It was Threen. She had come to the council in person, though her image was also being broadcast from her dying world. She walked to the center of the chamber. Her eyes were wet with tears, but her voice was strong. The Krell do not care about agreements. They care about power. They see our weakness and they attack. If you cannot save us, then at least warn the other colonies. Tell them to run. Tell them to hide, because the Krell will not stop with Azure 7. Silence filled the great chamber. Everyone knew she was right. The Krell would keep taking colonies. They would keep killing until someone stopped them. But who could stop them? The council races were not warriors. They had no great fleets. They had no powerful weapons. They had lived in peace for so long that they had forgotten how to fight. Threen looked around at all the faces, aliens of every shape and size, all of them scared, all of them helpless. Then she spoke the words that would change everything. What about the humans? The chamber exploded with noise again. Some voices shouted in anger, others in fear. The humans were new to the galactic community. They had only been contacted 5 years ago, and their reputation had spread like fire. Humans came from Earth, a Class 12 death world. That was the highest danger rating a planet could have. Most council races came from Class 1 or Class 2 worlds. Perfect temperatures, gentle weather, low gravity, safe plants and animals. But Earth was a nightmare. Earth had gravity so strong that it would crush most aliens. It had diseases that killed in days. It had predators with teeth and claws. It had weather that could freeze you solid or burn you alive. It had plants that were poison to touch. It even had earthquakes and volcanoes and hurricanes. The entire planet was trying to kill everything on it all the time, and somehow humans had survived. More than survived. They had conquered that terrible world. They had become the apex predators of a planet full of apex predators. When the council had first met humans, they had been terrified. Humans were big and strong. They had forward-facing eyes like hunters. They had teeth designed for tearing meat. They could run for hours without stopping. They could survive injuries that would kill any other species. We cannot ask the humans, Council Leader Morthax said firmly. They are unpredictable. They are violent. We do not know if we can trust them. You do not trust them because you are afraid of them, Threen said. Her voice was hard now. You see their strength and you fear it. But I see their strength and I hope for it. The Krell are warriors. Maybe we need warriors to fight warriors. The humans might refuse to help. Another council member said. Or they might ask for too much in return, said another. Or they might come and decide to take Azure 7 for themselves, added a third. Voice, Threen felt her anger rising. These people were so scared that they would rather let her people die than risk asking for help. She pulled out a small device. It showed images from Azure 7, children playing in parks, families eating together, artists painting beautiful pictures. All of it would be gone in 3 days. Look at this, she said, making the images appear large in the center of the chamber. These are the people you will let die because you are afraid. Yes, humans are strong. Yes, they are from a death world. Yes, they are different from us. But they are also part of this council now. They have a right to know that we need help. Let them decide if they want to answer. Council leader Morthax closed his eyes. He was thinking hard. The choice was terrible. Ask the scary humans for help, or let the Valerian colony die. Finally, he opened his eyes. We will vote, he said. All in favor of sending a distress call to Earth? Slowly, hands and tentacles and other appendages rose into the air. More than half the council voted yes. Some voted because they wanted to help. Others voted because they were curious about what humans would do. A few voted because they secretly hoped humans might solve their Krell problem permanently. It is decided, Morthax said. Send the message to Earth, tell them we need help. The message was sent immediately. It traveled through space at faster than light speed. It crossed hundreds of light years in minutes, and it arrived at a large space station orbiting Earth. The station was called Valkyrie 1. It was the home of Earth's 3rd Expeditionary Fleet. Admiral Sarah Chen was in her office when the message came through. She was 50 years old with short gray hair and dark eyes that had seen many battles. She read the message twice. Then she read it again. A colony of peaceful aliens was about to be destroyed by an empire of warlike aliens. They were asking Earth for help. She stood up and walked to her window. Below her, she could see Earth, the beautiful blue and green planet that had tried to kill her ancestors for millions of years, the planet that had made humans strong, the planet that had taught humans to never give up, to never surrender, to always protect the weak. Admiral Chen pressed a button on her desk. It connected her to every ship in the fleet, to every captain and every crew member. This is Admiral Chen, she said. We have received a distress call. A colony is about to be destroyed. They are asking us for help. We have one chance to save them. She paused, looking at Earth one more time. Then she said the 4 words that would echo across the entire galaxy. Spin up the fleet. The human fleet moved with incredible speed. Within 12 hours of receiving the distress call, 20 warships were ready to leave Earth orbit. Each ship was massive, built with thick armor and powerful engines. They looked nothing like the elegant, smooth ships of other galactic races. Human ships looked like they were made for war. Because they were. The flagship was called the Indomitable. It was the largest ship in the fleet. Admiral Chen stood on its bridge watching her crew work. Everyone moved with purpose. Everyone knew what they had to do. In the corner of the bridge, standing very still and very nervous, was Keith. Keth was a Valerian. He had volunteered to be the liaison officer between his people and the humans. It was supposed to be an honor. But right now Keth was terrified. He was surrounded by Deathworlders, by creatures that could probably break him in half without trying. He had read the reports about humans. He knew what they were capable of. Liaison Officer Keth, a voice said. Keith jumped. He turned to see Captain Marcus Rodriguez approaching. The captain was tall and broad with dark skin and kind eyes. But Keth could see the muscles under his uniform, could see the way he moved with controlled power. This was a predator. Welcome to the Indomitable. I hope your quarters are comfortable. Yes, Captain. Thank you, Keth said quietly. His voice shook a little. Rodriguez smiled. It was meant to be friendly, but Keth saw the teeth. Human teeth were designed for eating meat. You seem nervous. There is no need to be afraid. We are here to help your people. I am not afraid, Keth lied. Then he felt ashamed. I am sorry. That is not true. I am very afraid. Your people are so strong, so dangerous. I have heard stories, the captain nodded. Yes, Earth is a dangerous world. And yes, humans are strong. But strength is not only for hurting others. Strength is also for protecting others. We are going to Azure 7 to protect your people. That is what we do. Before Keth could respond, the ship's engines roared to life. The Indomitable and the rest of the fleet jumped into faster-than-light travel. They were going to Azure 7. They would arrive in 30 hours. Keth hoped it would be enough time. During the journey, Keth tried to understand the humans. He watched them work. He watched them train. And what he saw amazed and confused him. In one room, humans were deliberately lifting heavy weights over and over. They were causing their muscles to hurt on purpose. Why do they do this? He asked a passing crew member. Exercise, the woman explained. She was a lieutenant named Park. We make our bodies stronger by pushing them to their limits. Pain means growth. Pain means growth. Keth could not understand. On his world, pain meant injury. It meant you should stop and rest. But humans seemed to seek it out. They made themselves hurt so they could become stronger. It was a very Deathworlder way of thinking. In the cafeteria, Keth tried human food. A Marine named Okafor had invited him to eat with her squad. They were friendly and welcoming. But the food they gave him was torture. It burned his mouth. It made his eyes water. What is this? He gasped, reaching for water. Hot peppers, Okafor laughed. Sorry, we should have warned you. Humans like spicy food. We actually enjoy the pain. It is fun for us. They enjoy pain. Keth was starting to understand why the galaxy feared humans. They had evolved on a world so terrible that they had learned to enjoy suffering. They turned pain into pleasure. They turned danger into excitement. They were completely insane. And right now, that insanity might be the only thing that could save his people. Keth spent time with a human historian named Dr. Wells. She explained human evolution to him. We started as prey animals, she said. Weak and slow compared to the big predators. But we had big brains. We learned to work together. And we learned something called persistence hunting. We would chase an animal for hours. For days sometimes. We would chase it until it was too tired to run anymore. Then we would kill it. We are not the fastest. We are not the strongest. But we never give up, ever. That night, Keth could not sleep. He kept thinking about what he had learned. Humans were apex predators who had evolved through constant struggle. They were strong because their world had tried to kill them every single day. They had redundant organs, meaning if one was damaged, they had backups. They could survive with only one lung or one kidney. They could keep fighting with broken bones. They could go days without food or water. They were built to survive anything, and now they were coming to fight the Krell. Keth wondered if the Krell knew what they were about to face. On the second day of the journey, Admiral Chen called a meeting with all ship captains. Keith was invited to attend via video screen. He watched as the human military leaders discussed their plan. They spoke in calm, confident voices. They were not scared of the 80 Krell ships waiting for them. They actually seemed excited. The Krell have never fought a Deathworld species, Admiral Chen explained. They think strength is about big ships and powerful weapons. They do not understand biological advantage. They do not understand what it means to be forged by gravity and predators and constant survival pressure. Captain Rodriguez added, Our ships are built to handle Earth conditions. They can take more damage than the Krell expect. Our crews can handle more G-forces. We can do maneuvers that would kill other species. And if it comes to boarding actions, our Marines are trained for close combat. The Krell think they are fierce warriors. They have never met a human Marine. What is the plan? Another captain asked. We arrive at maximum safe distance, Chen said. We give the Krell one chance to leave peacefully. If they refuse, we engage. Our priority is protecting the colony. We do not need to destroy the Krell fleet. We just need to make them leave. But if they attack Azure 7, we defend it with everything we have. No matter the cost, no matter the cost. Keth felt chills run through his body. These humans were willing to die for his people. For strangers they had never met. He remembered something Captain Rodriguez had told him. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. That is what humanity does. The meeting ended. Keth went back to his quarters. He tried to rest, but he could not stop thinking. In less than 24 hours, they would reach Azure 7. They would face the Krell, and Keth would see if the humans were really as dangerous as everyone said. The final hours passed quickly. Keth stood on the bridge of the Indomitable as they prepared to drop out of faster-than-light travel. The crew was calm and ready. Admiral Chen sat in her command chair, her hands steady. Captain Rodriguez stood beside her watching the countdown. 10 seconds to normal space, the navigation officer announced. 5 seconds, 3, 2, 1, mark. The view screen changed. They could see Azure 7 now, the beautiful blue and green planet where Keith's people lived, and surrounding it like predators around prey was the Krell fleet. 80 massive warships, dark and threatening. They were 4 times bigger than human ships. They had more weapons, more armor, more everything. Keth felt his hope dying. How could 20 human ships defeat 80 Krell vessels? It was impossible. They were all going to die. Then a message came through on the emergency channel. It was the Krell commander. Unknown vessels, you are interfering with Krell military operations. Leave now or be destroyed. You have 1 minute to retreat. Admiral Chen smiled. It was not a nice smile. It was the smile of a hunter who had found good prey. She opened a channel to broadcast on all frequencies. She wanted everyone to hear her response. The Krell, the Valerians on Azure 7, the entire galaxy. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth 3rd Expeditionary Fleet. Negative. We will not retreat. You are threatening a defenseless colony. You are attacking innocent people. That ends now. You have 1 chance to withdraw. Leave Azure 7 immediately, or learn why Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world. Choose quickly. We are not patient. Keth held his breath. Would the Krell leave? Would they be smart enough to run from the Deathworlders? The Krell commander's response came through. It was laughter. Long, cruel laughter. Deathworlders? We have heard stories about you. About your strange world and your weak bodies. You think you can fight the Krell hierarchy? We have 80 ships. You have 20. Learn your place, humans. Learn that you are nothing. Admiral Chen's smile grew wider. Wrong answer, she said softly. Then she raised her voice. All ships, battle stations. Prepare to engage. Show them what Deathworlders can do. The human fleet moved forward, and the battle began. Warlord Krathik sat in his command throne aboard the Krell flagship Dominant Fang. He was massive even for a Krell. His species were natural warriors, bred for conquest. They had scales like armor. They had claws and fangs. They were strong and fierce. They had destroyed civilizations. They had made entire species bow before them. And now these strange humans thought they could challenge the Krell? 80 ships against 20. Krathix laughed to his officers. This will be over in minutes. Attack formation. Destroy the human fleet. Leave no survivors. The Krell armada moved forward. 80 massive warships advancing on 20 smaller human vessels. It should have been easy. It should have been simple slaughter. The Krell fired their weapons first. Hundreds of missiles and energy beams crossed the space between the 2 fleets. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Keth watched the missiles coming. So many missiles, too many. They would all die. But Captain Rodriguez just nodded to his weapons officer. Point defense, engage. What happened next made Keth's eyes go wide. The human ships started shooting at the incoming missiles. Not with big weapons, with small fast guns that tracked every single target. The guns moved with incredible speed and accuracy. They hit missile after missile, destroying them before they could reach the human ships. Out of 300 missiles, only 12 got through. And those 12 exploded harmlessly against the human shields. How? Keth whispered. How did you shoot down so many? Targeting systems, Rodriguez explained calmly. Human brains evolved to track fast-moving prey. We designed our computers to do the same thing. We are very good at following moving targets. Return fire, Admiral Chen ordered. Show them what our weapons can do. The human ships fired. Their weapons were different from Krell weapons. They used railguns and missiles with smart guidance systems. The projectiles moved at incredible speeds. The Krell tried to shoot them down, but their point defense systems were too slow, too inaccurate. 20 human ships hit 80 Krell vessels. 8 Krell ships exploded immediately. 5 more were badly damaged. Impossible. Krathix roared. They are smaller than us, weaker than us. How can they hit so hard? His science officer checked the data. Warlord, their projectiles are moving at 20% light speed. And they are solid metal, not energy beams. The kinetic impact is enormous. Our shields cannot handle it. Then we get closer, Krathix snarled. We use our superior numbers. We surround them. Attack from all sides. The Krell fleet spread out, trying to surround the human ships. It was a good strategy. It should have worked. But then the human ships did something that should have been impossible. They turned. Fast, very fast. Keth felt his stomach drop as the Indomitable pulled a 15G turn. 15 times normal gravity. It should have killed everyone on board. It should have crushed them against the walls. But the humans had crash gel pods, special seats filled with protective fluid. The crew groaned with effort, but they survived. They kept working. They kept fighting. They can maneuver like fighters, the Krell tactical officer reported to Krathix. His voice was filled with fear. But they are capital ships. This should not be possible. Their crews should be dead, another officer added. No species can survive those G-forces. But humans could. Because humans evolved on a high-gravity world. Because their bones were dense and strong. Because their hearts were powerful. Because they were built to survive what would kill everyone else. The battle became chaos. The Krell had numbers, but the humans had skill. Human ships danced between Krell vessels, dodging fire and striking back. Every human shot hit its target. Every human maneuver was perfect. They fought like a pack of predators, coordinating without needing constant communication. They just knew what to do. Then one of the human ships, the Relentless, took a direct hit from a Krell dreadnought. The explosion was massive. Keth thought the ship was destroyed. But when the smoke cleared, the Relentless was still there. Damaged, burning, but still fighting. "This is Captain Harrison of the Relentless," a voice came over the fleet channel. "We have armor breach on decks 7 through 12. Fires on multiple levels. We have lost engines 2 and 4. There was a pause. Then Harrison continued, and his voice was steady. "We are still combat effective. Continuing engagement." Keith could not believe it. That ship should be dead. It should be floating wreckage. But it was still fighting. The humans were still fighting. "How are they still alive?" he asked. Rodriguez glanced at him. "Redundant systems. We build everything with backups. Backup power, backup engines, backup life support. If one system fails, another takes over. We also build for damage control. We have trained teams that can seal breaches and fight fires while the battle continues. We do not stop fighting just because we are hurt. But your crew, they must be injured." "Probably," Rodriguez agreed. "But humans can fight through pain. We evolved that ability. Adrenaline floods our system. It blocks pain. It makes us stronger. It makes us faster. We do our best fighting when we are hurt and angry." Keth was beginning to understand. These were not normal warriors. These were Deathworlders. They had evolved on a planet that tried to kill them every day. They had learned to keep going no matter what. Injury was not a reason to stop. It was a reason to fight harder. The Krell fleet was breaking apart. 30 Krell ships were destroyed or disabled. The rest were pulling back, trying to regroup. Warlord Krathix could not believe it. His mighty fleet was losing to a smaller force. It was humiliating. It was impossible. But it was happening. Then something stranger happened. Human boarding pods launched from several ships. They attached to damaged Krell vessels. "What are they doing?" Krathix demanded. "Are they boarding us?" "Negative, Warlord," his officer replied, checking the scans. "They are boarding the damaged ships in Sector 4. The ships we crippled earlier. The ones with failing life support." Keth watched his screen. He could see human Marines in heavy armor entering the Krell ships. They were moving through the corridors. But they were not shooting. They were helping. They were carrying injured Krell soldiers. They were sealing breaches. They were saving lives. One of the rescued Krell was brought before a human Marine. The Krell warrior looked confused and angry. "Why?" he demanded. "Why do you save us?" "We are your enemies." The human Marine, Sergeant Okafor, removed her helmet. She looked at the Krell soldier with calm eyes. "We are at war with your leaders," she said. "Not with you. You are a soldier following orders. You deserve to live. Besides, someone needs to go back and tell your people what happened here. Tell them what humans are like. Tell them we could have let you die, but we chose to save you." The Krell soldier stared at her. He had never met an enemy like this before. An enemy that fought fiercely but also showed mercy. An enemy that was strong enough to kill but kind enough to heal. He did not know what to think. On the dominant Fang, Warlord Krathix was losing control. His fleet was defeated. His warriors were being saved by the enemy. It made no sense. Warriors did not do this. Warriors killed or enslaved. They did not rescue. "This is wrong," he growled. "This is not how war works." "Perhaps," his science officer said quietly. "This is not how Krell war works. But this is how human war works. They have different rules. Krathix felt something he had not felt in many years. Fear. Real, deep fear. These humans were not just strong. They were unpredictable. They saved their enemies. They showed mercy in the middle of battle. But they also fought with incredible skill and would not stop no matter how much damage they took. How could you defeat an enemy like that? How could you break someone who refused to be broken? The answer was simple. You could not. The only way to win against humans was to not fight them at all. But Krathix's pride would not let him retreat. He had come to conquer Azure 7. He had promised his empire a new colony. He could not return in defeat. So he made a terrible decision. If he could not win the battle, he would at least complete his mission. He would destroy Azure 7. He would bombard the planet from orbit. He would kill everyone on the surface. That way he could say he had destroyed the colony, even if he had lost to the humans. All ships with bombardment capability. Krathix ordered. Target the planet. Prepare to fire on my command. If we cannot have this world, no one will. The bombardment cannons began to charge. Massive weapons designed to destroy cities, to crack continents, to end civilizations. They pointed down at the beautiful planet below. At the farms and cities. At the families and children. At all the innocent people who just wanted to live in peace. On the Indomitable, alarms started blaring. Admiral, the tactical officer shouted. The Krell are charging bombardment weapons. They are targeting the planet. Admiral Chen's face went hard. She looked at her fleet position. They were too far away. They could not intercept all the energy beams that were about to fire. Some would get through. Maybe most of them. Millions of Valerians would die. But Sarah Chen had not come all this way to fail. She had not led 20 ships across the galaxy just to watch innocents die. She pressed the fleet-wide communication button. All vessels, this is Admiral Chen. The Krell are about to bombard Azure 7. We are out of position to stop all their shots, so we are going to do this the hard way. We are going to block them with our ships. The 20 human ships moved into position. They spread out in a pattern between the Krell fleet and Azure 7. Each ship was placed to cover as much area as possible. They were a wall, a shield wall made of metal and determination. Behind them, on the planet's surface, millions of Valerians watched their screens. They saw the human ships taking defensive positions. They understood what was about to happen. On Azure 7 in the capital city, Threen stood with her family. Her children clung to her. They were scared. Everyone was scared. But Threen looked up at the sky and whispered, "Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for trying." On the dominant Fang, Warlord Krathix gave the order, "Fire all bombardment cannons. Destroy that planet." 40 Krell ships fired at once. Planet-killer energy beams, bright and terrible, lanced through space. Each beam carried enough power to destroy a city. Together, they could crack the crust of Azure 7, could turn the oceans to steam, could end all life on that world in minutes, but they never reached the planet. The human ships were in the way. The bombardment beams hit the Indomitable first. 3 beams struck at once. The impact was enormous. The shields flared bright and then shattered. The beams hit the armor next. They burned through meters of reinforced steel. They punched into the ship's hull. On the bridge, alarms screamed. Keth was thrown against his safety straps. Lights flickered and went out. Emergency lights came on, painting everything red. He heard explosions, heard screaming, smelled smoke and burning metal. "Status report," Captain Rodriguez shouted. "Decks 7 through 15 are decompressed," the damage control officer reported. Her voice was steady despite the chaos. "We have fires on decks 3, 5, and 12. Main power is at 40%. We have lost secondary shields. Hull breaches on port side sections 9 through 14. Casualties?" Rodriguez demanded. 73 dead, 156 injured. Keith felt sick. So many dead in just seconds. But Rodriguez just nodded. "Seal the breach sections. Route emergency power to weapons and engines. Send medical teams to the injured. We stay in position." "Sir, another bombardment is charging," the tactical officer warned. "I know. Hold position." Keith could not believe it. They were going to be hit again. More people would die. Why did they not move? Why did they not try to dodge? Then he understood. If they moved, the beams would hit the planet. So they stayed. They would take every hit meant for Azure 7. Across the fleet, other ships were doing the same thing. The Zeus took 2 direct hits and lost its entire aft section, but its captain, Commander Williams, kept the ship in position using only forward thrusters. The Dauntless had fires burning on 6 decks. The Revenge was venting atmosphere from multiple hull breaches. The Defiant had lost half its crew, but not one ship moved out of position. Not one captain ordered a retreat. They held the line. The second bombardment began. More beams struck the human ships. The Vigilant exploded completely, its reactor going critical. 180 crew members died instantly. The Vengeance broke in half, but both halves stayed in formation, their crews still fighting to keep systems online. Keth watched humans die. Watched them sacrifice themselves for his people. Tears ran down his face. "Why?" he asked Rodriguez. "Why do you do this? Why do you die for us? You barely know us." Rodriguez looked at him. The captain's face was covered in blood from a cut on his forehead. His uniform was burned, but his eyes were clear and calm. "Because you asked for help," he said. "Because you cannot defend yourselves. Because it is the right thing to do. On Earth we have a saying, no one gets left behind. It means we protect our own. And right now you are our own. Azure 7 is under human protection. We will not let you fall." A third bombardment charged. Warlord Krathix was furious. The humans would not move. They just stayed in position and took the punishment. It was insane. No one fought like this. No one sacrificed themselves for strangers. "Keep firing," he ordered. "Eventually they will break. They must break." But humans did not break easily. They were Deathworlders. They had evolved to survive. And more than that, they had evolved to protect. Humans were pack animals, social creatures. They looked after their group. And they had decided that the Valerians were part of their group now. The third bombardment hit. The Indomitable shuddered again. More explosions. More casualties. Keth heard someone screaming. Heard the awful sound of metal tearing. Felt the ship shake like it was being torn apart. "We cannot take much more," none the damage control officer reported. "One more hit like that and we lose life support." "Then we fight without life support," Rodriguez said calmly. "We have suits. We will keep fighting." Admiral Chen's voice came over the fleet channel. She sounded tired but determined. "All ships on status report." One by one, the captains reported in. The news was bad. 2 ships destroyed. 8 ships with critical damage. Every ship had casualties. But every ship was still in position. Every ship was still protecting the planet. "Good," Chen said. "Very good. Hold your positions just a little longer. Our fighters are launching now." Keith had forgotten about the fighters. He looked at his screen. Small attack craft were launching from the human ships. Even the damaged ships were sending out their fighters. Keth counted over 200 small vessels. They accelerated toward the Krell fleet. Inside those fighters were pilots with broken ribs, pilots with concussions, pilots with burns and cuts, but they flew anyway. Because their ships were holding the line, and it was the fighters' job to end this battle. They had to stop the bombardment. They had to save Azure 7, and they had to save their fellow humans who were dying to protect the planet. The fighters moved fast, much faster than the big ships. They dodged and weaved through Krell defensive fire. The Krell shot down 30 fighters, 50, 70, but the rest kept coming. They did not slow down. They did not turn back. They just kept flying toward the Krell flagship. "Destroy those fighters," Krathix roared. But there were too many, and they were too fast, and they were too determined. The fighters reached the dominant Fang. They fired missiles at close range, hitting the ship's weak points. They knew where to aim. They had studied Krell ship designs. They knew every vulnerability. The dominant Fang's shields failed. The fighters pressed their attack. Some of them crashed directly into the ship's bombardment cannons, destroying them in suicide runs. Keith watched in horror and awe. These pilots were choosing to die to save his people, choosing to crash their ships into the enemy, choosing to end their lives so others could live. Then the boarding pods launched. Dozens of them attached to the dominant Fang's hull. Human Marines breached the ship. They moved through the corridors in their heavy armor, hunting for the bridge, hunting for Warlord Krathix. The Krell warriors tried to stop them, but they had never fought humans in close combat before. They had never experienced what a human could do with adrenaline flooding their system. The Marines moved like demons. They were fast and strong and absolutely relentless. They used tactics that no other species used. They worked as teams, covering each other, moving with perfect coordination. They had trained for this. They were good at this. One Marine, Sergeant Okafor, led her squad through the ship. They fought past Krell guards, past automated defenses, past every obstacle. Okafor herself had 2 cracked ribs and a concussion from the ship's earlier damage. But she kept moving. Pain was temporary. The mission was everything. They reached the bridge. The final Krell guards tried to stop them, but Okafor's squad was unstoppable. They breached the bridge doors. They secured the room. And there, sitting in his command throne, was Warlord Krathix. Krathix stood up. He was huge, covered in armored scales, armed with claws and fangs. He could kill any of these humans with his bare hands. But there were 12 Marines pointing weapons at him. He was outnumbered. He was defeated. But he had to know. Why, he demanded. Why die for strangers? Why sacrifice yourselves for a species you just met? It makes no sense. Sergeant Okafor removed her helmet. She was sweating, breathing hard, but her eyes were steady. She looked at the massive warlord without fear. Because they asked for help, she said. That is all they had to do, ask and we came. That is what humans do. We hear a cry for help and we answer, every time. No matter the cost, no matter the danger, we answer. You are insane, Krathix said. All of you. You fight like demons but show mercy like saints. You die for others but refuse to quit. You do not make sense. Maybe not to you, Okafor agreed. But it makes sense to us. And right now, that is all that matters. Order your fleet to stand down. Order them to stop the bombardment. Or I promise you, we will take this ship apart piece by piece with you still in it. Krathix looked at her, looked at the determination in her eyes, looked at the other Marines, all of them wounded but still ready to fight. He thought about his fleet, broken and burning, about the human ships that had taken impossible damage but refused to die, about warriors who saved their enemies and died for strangers. He realized something then. The Krell hierarchy had made a terrible mistake. They had attacked under human protection. They had threatened people the humans cared about. And humans, when protecting others, became something beyond dangerous. They became inevitable, unstoppable. They would die before they quit. And if you made them die, they would take you with them. The battle was over. The Krell fleet retreated, leaving behind their defeated warlord and their destroyed ships. The human fleet remained in orbit around Azure 7. Of the 20 ships that had come to help, 2 were completely destroyed. 5 more were so badly damaged they could barely fly. Every ship had casualties. 347 humans had died. Another 500 were injured. But Azure 7 stood untouched. Not one bombardment beam had reached the planet's surface. The humans had kept their promise. They had held the line. Keth stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and watched as repair crews worked to fix the massive damage. He saw humans with bandages and casts still doing their jobs, saw engineers welding hull breaches while wearing pressure suits, saw medical teams treating the injured and makeshift hospitals set up in cargo bays. These people had nearly died. Some of their friends had died. But they kept working. They did not complain. They just did what needed to be done. We are preparing to send aid teams to the planet, Captain Rodriguez told Keth. His arm was in a sling and he had burns on his face. But he was still in command, still taking care of his ship and crew. Medical supplies, food, repair equipment. We know the Krell blockade prevented supply ships from reaching Azure 7. Your people must need help. You have already helped us so much, Keth said. You have given us everything. You have given us your lives. Rodriguez smiled sadly. The dead have given everything. The rest of us just did our job. Now our job is to make sure you are safe and healthy. That is what protecting means. It is not just fighting. It is also caring. The first shuttle landed in Azure 7's capital city 3 hours later. The cargo doors opened and human soldiers stepped out. They were large and intimidating in their armor. The Valerian civilians were scared at first. These were Deathworlders. These were predators. But then the soldiers started unloading supplies. Started setting up medical tents. Started helping. A Valerian child, no more than 6 years old, approached one of the Marines. It was Sergeant Okafor, the same Marine who had captured Warlord Krathix. She was tired and sore, but she knelt down when she saw the child. The little girl held out a flower she had picked. "Thank you for saving us," the child said in her small voice. Okafor felt tears in her eyes. She took the flower carefully, holding it like it was precious. "You are welcome, little one. You are safe now. We promise." The child smiled and then did something unexpected. She hugged Okafor. wrapped her small arms around the armored marine. Okafor hugged back very gently, careful not to hurt the fragile child. Other Valerians saw this. Saw the scary warrior being gentle with a child. Saw the human soldier crying tears of relief and joy. They began to understand. These were not monsters. These were protectors. These were heroes. News of the battle spread across the galaxy with incredible speed. Every species heard about it. The Galactic Council watched the battle recordings. They saw human ships taking impossible damage, saw human fighters on suicide runs, saw human marines showing mercy to their enemies. They saw everything. Ambassador Threen was invited to address the full Galactic Council. She stood in the center of the great chamber. Every representative was watching her. The entire galaxy was watching through broadcast. She took a deep breath and began to speak. 3 days ago, my people were going to die. The Krell had sentenced us to destruction. We sent out a call for help to the Galactic Council. Many of you debated. Many of you worried. Some of you voted against helping us because you were afraid of the humans, afraid of the Deathworlders. She paused, letting her words sink in. But the humans were not afraid. They heard our call and they answered. 20 ships came to face 80. They came knowing they might die. They came anyway. They protected us with their own bodies. They stood between us and death. And they held that position no matter what it cost them. Threen's voice broke with emotion. 347 humans died for Azure 7. They died for people they had never met. For a species they barely knew. They died because we asked for help. That is all they needed. We asked and they came. They came and they fought and they bled and they died for us. She looked around the chamber at all the different species. You were afraid of humans because they are strong. Because they are dangerous. Because they are Deathworlders. But now I tell you what you should really know about humans. They are protectors. They are loyal. They are brave beyond understanding. Yes, they are dangerous. But only to those who threaten the innocent. Only to those who prey on the weak. I propose, Threen continued, that the Galactic Council offer humanity a permanent seat. That we recognize their sacrifice. That we honor their courage. And that we establish the Deathworlder Defense Initiative, with Earth as its headquarters. Because if the galaxy has learned anything from this, it should be that we want humans on our side. We want them as friends, as allies, as protectors. The chamber was silent for a moment. Then one representative stood and began to clap their appendages together. Then another. Then another. Soon the entire council was applauding. The vote was unanimous. Humanity would have a permanent seat on the Galactic Council. Earth would become the center of galactic defense. The humans had earned it with their blood and courage. But there was one more piece of business. Warlord Krathix was brought before the council in chains. He stood proud despite his defeat. Despite his humiliation, the council leader asked him, "What did you learn about humans?" Krathix was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke and his voice carried across the entire galaxy. "I learned that they are apex predators, but not the kind we understand. Most predators hunt for food, for territory, for dominance. But humans hunt to protect. They are predators who defend the weak. They are warriors who show mercy. They evolved on a world that tried to kill them constantly, and instead of becoming cruel, they became kind. Instead of becoming selfish, they became selfless." He paused, looking at the council members. "They are the most dangerous species in the galaxy, not because of their weapons or their ships, but because they will die for strangers. Because they keep fighting when any sane species would surrender. Because they see someone in need and they cannot help but answer. That makes them unstoppable. The Krell hierarchy formally requests a non-aggression pact with Earth," Krathix continued. "We will pay reparations to Azure 7. We will withdraw from this sector of space. And we will never, ever attack under human protection again. We have learned our lesson. We will not make this mistake twice." The council accepted his terms. Krathix was sent back to his empire in disgrace. But he went back alive and with all his surviving warriors, because humans had shown mercy even to him, even to someone who had tried to commit genocide. They had captured him rather than killed him, had treated his wounded warriors, had shown that even in war humanity could be humane. Back on the Indomitable, Admiral Chen met with Keith one final time before he returned to Azure 7. The Valerian looked at the human admiral with deep respect. "Thank you," he said simply. "Thank you for everything. For coming. For fighting. For saving us, Chen smiled. She looked tired. She had lost people under her command. Good people, friends, but she did not regret the decision. That is what we do, she said. Someone calls for help and humanity answers. Every time. No exceptions. That is who we are. That is who we will always be. I understand now, Keth said. I understand why humans are Deathworlders. Not just because you come from a dangerous planet, but because you carry that danger with you. You are dangerous to evil, dangerous to cruelty, dangerous to anyone who hurts the innocent. You are the predators that prey on predators. I like that, Chen said. Yes, that is exactly what we are. And now go back to your people, rebuild, live in peace, and know that if anyone ever threatens you again, we will come. We are your friends now, and humans protect their friends. Keith returned to Azure 7. He watched the human fleet prepare to leave. He watched them limp away on damaged engines with patched hulls and jury-rigged systems. They had given everything. But they had won. They had saved an entire world. On Azure 7, the Valerian government built a monument. It was a simple wall made of the same white stone they used for important buildings. On that wall, they carved the names of every human who had died. All 347 of them. It took up the entire wall. Beneath the names, they carved a message in dozens of galactic languages. They heard the cry. They answered the call. They held the line. Every year after that, on the anniversary of the battle, the people of Azure 7 would gather at the monument. They would read the names. They would remember. And they would teach their children about the day the Deathworlders came to save them. About the day humanity showed the galaxy what real courage looked like. The story spread to every world. It became legend. Parents told it to their children. Teachers taught it in schools. And whenever someone asked if they should fear humans, the answer was always the same. Only if you are evil. Only if you hurt the innocent. Only if you prey on the weak. Because humans do not tolerate bullies. Humans do not allow genocide. Humans hear a cry for help and they come running. They always come running. Above Earth, the 3rd Expeditionary Fleet repaired and refitted their ships. They trained new crews. They built new vessels.